Welcome to the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, where business owners, thought leaders, and community champions from across Central Illinois come to share their story. The Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. Anything less would be uncivilized.
What's up, Central Illinois? My name is Derek Hayden, here with Garrett Ulmer. We are your hosts for the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. Today, we are excited to bring you the first ever guest on the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. It is my pleasure to introduce him. He is a graduate of the University of Illinois College of Law. He serves on the board of directors of the McLean County Museum of History. He has previously served on the boards of Decatur Area Arts Council, Decatur Public Library Foundation, the Decatur Celebration, and the Young Philanthropist Giving Circle, and as president of the Decatur Chess Club. He was also previously nominated for the Greater Decatur Chamber of Commerce's Entrepreneur of the Year Award. He was named to the Central Illinois Business Journal's list of 20 people under 40 who make a difference in Central Illinois. He's currently a partner at Boland, Robinson, and Ellis, otherwise known as BRE Law. Central Illinois, please welcome to the show, Mr. Josh Rohrscheib.
Man.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you.
Well, hey, it's the introduction you deserve, Josh. We're very pleased to have you batting leadoff as the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast first guest ever. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Garrett to get a little more info about you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Josh, for being on. I tell you what, I'm glad that Derek was starting that off because that's a mouthful, and I know I probably would have messed that up somewhere along the line. But man, what a line of credentials we got going on here. And once again, thanks for jumping on the show for us. So first off, we're going to start with our speed round. So I hope you were prepared. Six questions in under 60 seconds. It's going to help our viewers and listeners get a little bit better idea of who you are. Okay.
Okay.
You ready to roll?
Let's give it a shot.
All right. First concert.
I think it was in high school. It was a Christian rock band called Stryper, whose big hit was To Hell with the Devil.
Okay.
They were pretty awesome.
Awesome. All right.
Maybe junior high, I think.
There you go.
Favorite movie?
The Blues Brothers.
All right. Great
Nice.
one. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Cherry.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Favorite social media platform?
Facebook.
Why Central Illinois?
Man, it's home. Just the goodness, the decency of the people here. There's a ton of opportunity in Central Illinois too. So
Yeah.
I expect we're going to talk about some of that in this
Yeah,
show.
absolutely. You know, one of the favorite things I always like to ask somebody on the iPhone or Android question is why an iPhone? In you know, it's so cut and dry. People are either on the iPhone board or they're off. So what's your quick answer for that one?
Man, everything just works. It just always works, consistently works. It's easy to use. And it's, like so many of my friends and partners are on it. There's some advantages of having everyone, like being able to FaceTime with the family.
Yep.
Just a lot of advantages of it being on the iPhone platform.
I'm an iPhone guy as well. And the simplicity of it makes it easy for me. So now that we've got to know you just a little bit better, what we'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about your journey as a businessman here in Illinois and take us back in time and tell us how you've gotten to where you are today.
Sure. Well, hey, I'm born and raised in Central Illinois outside of Decatur. You mentioned University of Illinois College of Law in the introduction. I did undergrad and law school in Champaign, had a great time, great experience there. Had the pleasure of being student body president at the U of I, which was a lot of fun. Started a scholarship there I'm really proud of. I did a little bit of political work in between undergrad and law school. Then I worked in DC then it was one of the 2 or 3 largest law firms in the world, had like 3,800 lawyers, a global firm. I did government affairs work in DC for 4 or 5 years. And then I decided to move back home for kind of family reasons and just go back to my hometown, and I worked for a few small firms in Central Illinois. And then at one point I hung up a shingle and I was a solo practitioner, had to learn a lot about, wearing all the different hats in a business. And as that solo practice grew 5 or 6 years ago, I really needed more administrative support. I saw a lot of advantages of having partners to collaborate with. And I joined the law firm of Bolin Robinson and Ellis, which has an incredible reputation in Central Illinois that really built on the excellent work of the founders. And they've built a firm that's a full service firm throughout Central Illinois. We're up to 13 lawyers with a great company culture, great results for clients, and couldn't be happier to be part of that team.
Awesome. What are some of the locations, Josh, that BRE Law has here in Central Illinois?
Well, our kind of flagship is in Decatur. We have this beautiful old firehouse that's right across from the courthouse.
Okay.
I run our Bloomington office. My wife is a professor at ISU, and a few years ago, we moved first to Clinton and then to Bloomington, and now we're in Northern Normal. So we've gotten kind of closer and closer to ISU, which has been great as we've started a family. But the firm was supportive of opening an office in the Bloomington market. So I've kind of led the charge on that. We also added 2 great lawyers in Sullivan. The firm of Wood and Mayberry merged into BRE Law, and they've been there forever. I don't know if you guys have met Steve Wood, but he is just a hilarious BS artist, and you would have a great deal of fun talking to him. Then right before the pandemic, there's a trend in Central Illinois right now where it is getting harder to bring lawyers back. So there are a lot of counties that are under-lawyered now and are going to be increasingly suffering from a shortage of lawyers in the community. And we identified Logan County. If you look at the 102 counties in Illinois, Logan County is the 3rd most under-lawyered county in terms of like lawyers per capita.
Okay.
We were hearing there was only one lawyer who was really taking many new family law cases. Every divorce cases needs 2. And we opened a satellite office in Lincoln for that reason, because we've got several family lawyers and we know the folks in Logan County have some unmet legal needs. And so that was our 4th office. I see that as a model that makes a lot of sense where you guys are in Shelbyville, I think you're frankly number 7 on that list of 102 counties. So I would love for us to open a Shelbyville office in the near future. But I just think that's one way of bringing a lot of resources, so you can have like elite litigation teams and a lot of resources to support big problems when they come up, because they come up in smaller towns, just like like bigger cities. So we would like to find ways to help meet unmet legal needs.
Great. So you mentioned, Josh, graduate of University of Illinois College of Law.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to become a lawyer or practice law? What were some things that led you in that direction?
I think one big one was the versatility of a law degree, because it's hard, when you think about what we expect kids to know when they're 18 and starting college about what kind of career path they want to take. No one can have any idea what they really want to do when they've been exposed, unless they've been exposed to like way more things than the typical 18-year-old. So really, when I got out of undergrad, I knew I liked political work. I worked in the state Senate for a year, learned a lot, but it seemed like most anything I would want to do with public policy, I would benefit from having a law degree and the training and that knowledge. Plus, whether or not it's valid, it did seem like lawyers just got kind of automatic credibility across a lot of different fields. And I like the idea of that too. So I figured 3 years for law school at a place I love would make a lot of sense. And so that's a lot of why I intended really to do more public policy and political work when I went to law school. And then, after I came home, I guess I'll say one of there are a lot of great things about working for a big global law firm. One of the downsides is that apart from your pro bono cases, because your clients are like global companies, foreign governments, they don't have junior lawyers having a whole lot of client interaction or making key strategic decisions, right? You want to pay like the $1,000 an hour partners for those things. But in Central Illinois, you can really get to know your clients. You can help make decisions. You can help solve problems. You can, be a really active part of the case. You can get trial experience right away. You can get experience really practicing law and helping folks right away. So that was a lot of why I came home, was it was just really rewarding to be able to work with just the families and friends that I grew up with and be able to be a resource for them and help them.
Great. Well, you mentioned in the intro and the speed round that Facebook is your number one platform as far as social media goes. Now, I've been doing some research on you here. Some would call it internet creeping. I call it research. So I'm looking at your website, Josh. It's rohrscheiblaw.com.
Yeah.
And it's one of the coolest websites I've ever seen.
Man, thank you.
It's got your video in the background, you meeting with some of your clients, and it's very cool. So tell me how, I guess, on the business end of things, some of your marketing plans and how that all ties into you educating the community and gaining new clients.
Well, first I'll start with one thing that I think made a really big difference in my practice. I've kind of gotten to know some other lawyers from around the country, and we have kind of like a tribe of folks who help each other with growing and delivering better services and helping the way we think about being professionals. And so a lot of this has come from things I've learned from other lawyers, locally and nationally. But one thing that helped me a lot was niching down. And it's hard when, I've represented a lot of businesses, families, and in estate planning and business law and lots of litigation disputes. But 2 or 3 years ago, I made the decision to narrow my practice to only taking personal injury cases. And that made a huge difference in my ability to market effectively, my ability to serve clients even more effectively. A lot of clients, especially in Central Illinois, when you're looking to lawyers, you're just going to see a lot of generalists. And personally, it's really hard to be an expert at everything. It's really hard. And just to practice efficiently, I felt like to make sure I was getting it right, I would have to spend 5 or 6 times the amount of time I should on some questions to research things exhaustively. And then I wouldn't feel right about billing the client for that. So I'd cut my time a lot and end up working crazy hours. And you can have a much more manageable life as a lawyer if you decide to just focus on doing one thing or 2 things really, really well. The other advantage is, imagine like training a staff. If you're not really trying to do like 20 different things, but expecting your staff to do 20 different things, you're kind of setting them up to struggle and fail. So I like that by niching down, I can have my staff learn a process and have systems so we can, resolve our cases much more quickly than perhaps a generalist would be able to, who doesn't have the benefit of thinking in systems and having checklists, processes, and roadmaps and automations to really deliver a better experience for the client. I think what you'll hear from most Central Illinois lawyers who've been successful is their practice is built on giving good results to clients for years and years and years. So that's the first step of our marketing is we want to deliver excellent results. And I think having a systemized kind of narrow practice makes it way easier to do that. So that's kind of the starting place. Beyond that, in terms of marketing, a lot of my work comes from other lawyers. There's a kind of a norm in the law in Illinois and lots of states where we can pay referral fees to other lawyers who send us work for some types of cases, including what I do. Now, if I send someone to another lawyer who just does like family law, there isn't like a referral arrangement there, and that's fine. That said, I'm really happy to be a hub if anyone has legal questions. If I can't help you and my firm can't help you, I think one of the real privileges is being able to help a client find the best lawyer for them to solve their problem. So I think just being open for anyone in the network to call you and help them find a solution is another important part of marketing, because if they feel like, even if he didn't do some type of like strange type of case, but he took an hour and a half to try to find me someone who could help me, that person is likely to remember and want to call me when they do need me for something I do.
Yep.
Sure.
No, I agree. I feel like one thing that Derek and I, if we talk to a successful business or businessman, one of the first things they tell us is, when they got started, they did several different things and couldn't keep up with all of it. And when they decided to narrow their focus down, life changed for them and their business. Like you said, you can become a lot better at a couple things than trying to be the best at all of them. So I think that's a great example.
Yeah.
It's hard to do, because it's hard to feel like, when I did it, like maybe personal injury was 40% of my revenue. So It was a bit of a leap of faith.
Yeah.
But it's also way easier to refer cases to when you just do one thing.
Sure.
People start thinking of you for that type of case. And then you can build web content for that kind of thing. Like I've recorded maybe 100, 120 videos answering common questions about injury and accident law. And I couldn't do that for every possible like legal practice area, So it helps it certainly helps with marketing, it helps in referral relationship building. And that's made all the difference to me.
No.
I think you're spot on with your approach, Josh. I can't agree more. Like Garrett said before, what's the saying? Is it instead of being a mile wide and an inch deep, you should be an inch wide and a mile deep. So gaining that expertise in one particular niche, like you said, you can't be everything to everybody. And if you try to do that, you're going to get burnt out, and you're going to find that your business is going to suffer a little bit as well. And it's tough to do, especially early on. I know I'm in my 9th year now in the insurance business. And when I first started, I'd go do a homeowners here and a special events here. And someone asked me a crop insurance question, then a small business question. And it's good to know a little bit about everything. But for example, if you are going to be the commercial insurance expert, don't go off and try to start learning about crop insurance. I'm just kind of using my example. That's not my specialty. We do have people here in the office. Garrett has a specialty in crop insurance, so I just pass it down the road to Garrett if that's a question. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about niching out and being an expert at one or two things versus trying to answer everybody's question about everything.
Yeah. Find your space and then own it.
That's right.
Try to go that direction.
So Josh, you said your main expertise is injury law. So what are some areas, some examples of injury cases that you work on specifically?
Well, a lot of car accident cases, and that's probably most of my practice is car accident cases. We do some, unfortunately, dog bite cases. A lot of those unfortunately involve kids. The positive side of that is you may be able to recover enough to put a kid through college, or fund a surgery that they're going to need, or hopefully or maybe help them start a business or buy their first house down the road. So that's kind of the really kind of meaningful side of what we do. Some like slip and fall cases, kind of any type of injury case. We can, anytime someone was injured through the carelessness of another person, we're happy to talk to them for free. That one other nice thing is I never am sending a client a bill for these types of cases. So it doesn't cost a client anything to just talk to someone. If they get an offer to settle a case, we can talk to them about it, give them just candid advice about whether it makes sense or not. And most individuals are just at such a disadvantage when on the other end of the phone, there's an attorney or an insurance claims adjuster where that's all they've done for 20 years. And this is your first car accident. You have no idea what it's worth. Wow. So you're kind of negotiating in the dark until or have someone help you understand the value of your case. So we talk to a lot of folks when about all types of injury claims, but other more niche types of injury claims like medical malpractice, workers' compensation, asbestos mesothelioma cases, some mass tort cases. On a lot of those, we will serve as like local counsel, or we'll refer to someone. I have some lawyers in my firm who do some workers' comp, but like on asbestos cases, we have relationships with like some of the best asbestos firms, not only in the region, but in the country. And we can bring those resources to bear. Same with medical malpractice. We don't typically handle those in-house. We serve as kind of local counsel and bring in really top-tier firms to take the lead on those cases. But I really think that a local person is better off having a local firm help them and bring, and like we're going to be better at identifying the best resource to solve a problem than a non-lawyer will be. So just like with you guys figuring out of this huge universe of insurance companies and coverages, what exactly a person needs. Like, I think that's really analogous, that we can, that's one benefit of working with the lawyers. The lawyers should have a network of contacts who can help with that. And our office has really built a wide network, especially on some of the more kind of complex mass tort and class action type cases.
Gotcha.
Excellent.
What would you recommend to an individual? I know that you probably hear it a lot. Like you mentioned, they're just kind of lost. They've had an incident happen. Kind of questioning, what should I do? When should they first off try to just reach out to you to kind of set a consultation?
It may sound predictable to say like as soon as possible,
Sure.
but there are a lot of reasons that's true. One reason is there could be critical evidence that can be lost. There could be, like, I've got a case right now by a kid was hit by a car while a pedestrian. A bank about half a block away has video footage of it. And we were able to get to the bank while the video footage is still there. If they would have waited a month, who knows? So sometimes important evidence can be gathered immediately. Another really important thing about these cases and the ultimate result to the client is how the medical bills are processed. And getting someone who deals with these issues every day involved early can help make sure everything is processed optimally, which can make an enormous difference in what the client receives at the end of the case. So I think the earlier the better. And again, I think some folks assume anytime they talk to a lawyer, they're going to get a bill. So it's just important to know with this type of case that that's just not true. Like, an injury lawyer will almost always talk to you for free, and there's no downside. Just like you taking the time to talk to someone who may be able to help you, even just give you some information that makes you a lot more money.
Perfect.
Absolutely. I want to jump into kind of the business side of things. I know you said you were kind of solo when you first got out of school and joined BRE Law later on. What were some or were some of your biggest hurdles as a business owner or business leader that you've had to overcome?
Wow, man, that's a great question. When I was a solo, it's very hard for someone starting a business to learn how to handle HR and accounting and IT and marketing. And there were just some huge advantages in being part of a firm that had solved all of that and solved it in a pretty sophisticated way. After joining the firm, I think a lot of lawyers there's a classic business book called The E-Myth Revisited. And it talks about there being technicians and entrepreneurs and a lot of lawyers are technicians. They just want to go to the office and work on the motion or do the research, meet with the client, and leave at the end of the day. Most lawyers are not entrepreneurial. Most lawyers don't want to stop and take a step back and look kind of more globally at their practice and think about it like a business. And that was really just like a mindset change. So I think one of my biggest challenges, and I think this applies across industries, is just stopping and thinking of yourself as just a lawyer who's a technician and thinking about yourself as an entrepreneur who happens to provide legal services. And then think about your business in that way and how to build systems to do things more efficiently and like you were running a business instead of just being someone working in a business. So that was probably the biggest hurdle for me. Frankly, the book I mentioned helped a lot with that.
Awesome. No, that's great. That one thing that I try to do, and I don't do it well enough or often enough, is I try to think I'm not the owner of Danzig Insurance Risk Advisors right now, but I am the 100% shareholder and CEO of Garrett Incorporated. So whether it doesn't matter if you are a business owner, if you're just in sales or an employee of a business, that's the way you've kind of got to think of it. Is when I'm making decisions to build my own personal book of business or to build my own Garrett Incorporated business, how do I look at that instead of just kind of going through the motions and answering emails, returning phone calls? What can I do to better myself, to grow my book of business? Although I'm not the business owner, it is impacting me directly by, doing different things and making sure I have prioritized events and things I do on a daily basis to further myself and my own personal business. So that is a very good example of a hurdle, Josh. And it's something that I don't do often enough, but when I do step back and think of it that way, it helps me prioritize certain things in my life and in my business. So very good point.
Well, man, that's obviously working for you. So
well, I appreciate that. Well, I'd like to keep building on that. So yeah, that's great. Well, I think, Josh, you've done a great job. We're getting close to time here. One thing before you leave, any tips for entrepreneurs that are listening right now here in Central Illinois that you would leave them with?
Yeah, I'll tell you one other thing that made a big difference to me. And with, more and more folks getting vaccinated, a lot of us being really eager just to be around people again. And one thing that helped me a lot before COVID hit, I made a point to try to ask someone to lunch once a week. Someone to lunch who I'd like to meet, who I could learn from, who I just love to know their story. A lot of other lawyers, but other professions that are sort of adjacent to mine. And, I've learned so much about how to be a better businessman from just asking questions of people who've run a business for years in different industries. So I think, it can be hard to do because you may not want to take an hour and a half out of your schedule every single week, or you may already have a routine that you would have to shake up to do that. And it doesn't have to be lunch. It could be breakfast. It could be a happy hour. But if you can make yourself ask one person a week and just have a discipline about it to get out there. And then when you go, don't think about what they can do for you. Just think about what you can do for them and what you can learn from them and how you can, maybe there are ways you can help each other. But we can learn something from almost anyone. And if you kind of go into some of these conversations that way, you can derive enormous value from it.
That's awesome. Yep. Nope. That's, I think Garrett and I were both chomping at the bit to get these businesses open so we could get, in front of people again. And, being two sales guys, we're like, I'm over these Zoom calls. Let's get out in front of people and shake hands and kiss some babies. That may be frowned upon now with COVID.
Well, like I said, it's almost like locking butterflies in a room and not letting them out. It's just like, we got to get out and spread our wings. There's only so many times in these four walls. I've got to get out and shake it up a little bit.
Awesome, Josh. Well, hey, I know our loyal listeners are going to want to reach out to you to learn more about you and maybe consume some of your content. Where can they reach you? Where can they follow you on social media? Give us the rundown.
Sure. My email is josh@brelaw.com. You can reach me at 217-615-5030. My personal website is rohrscheiblaw.com. You can also reach me through our firm's website, which is brelaw.com. I'm on Facebook, pretty easy to find. There aren't a lot of, there are 3 Josh Rohrscheibs, but I'm pretty easy to find. The other 2, we all got together for barbecue in Indiana once. It was awesome.
Really?
But I'm the only lawyer of us. So, actually one of them, my own brother was with me that day, and he calls one of the other guys the cool Josh Rohrscheib. And I hate to admit that he's right, but anyway, that's, if you just look up Josh Rohrscheib lawyer, it'll be easy to find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, website, everywhere. So
awesome. Well, Josh, thanks for being the leadoff batter on the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. For all you loyal listeners out there, make sure you're subscribing to the CIBL Podcast on whatever platform you like to consume podcasts on, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, where we should be included on all of those. And also, please take a minute to leave a review if you found this podcast useful or exciting or entertaining. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook or engage with our guests there as well. Until next time, this has been the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you both. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CIBL Podcast. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It's the CIBLized thing to do.